Hey everybody, I am so excited to talk to you today, but I want to say something first. I want to congratulate the Red Bull team, and specifically Max Verstappen. Now listen, I want to congratulate the team first. Formula One has been a passion for me for as long as I can remember. In fact, I've got a picture of Michael Schumacher's win and reign in Spain in 1996. It's in my office over my desk next to my family portraits, and it's really important to me. The reason I like Formula One, I'll tell you quickly why I like it, but getting back to Max. Max, congratulations. 19 wins in a season, unheard of, unbelievable, and congratulations everybody on that team. Here's why I like Formula One. Tell me another sport where they put a team has two competitors on the same team and they compete back, and they got Checo and Max on that. And I'm telling you, what a way to make the best in something. And I think I try to fashion my team around here. My team, I'm nothing without my team. I got a team of people videoing me, and I got a team of people doing work in the machine shop. I got a team of people handling the phones and the sales. I got a team of people doing engine installs. I got a team of people that are doing repairs on all these vehicles in 30 bays, and it's a team. You know me, I'm just like the guy conducting the orchestra, but without everybody playing the instruments, right? It'd sound like crap. So, congratulations, Max and Red Bull. Okay, I want to talk about brakes. Brakes are important. In a Formula One team, you got the engine, you got the brakes. You don't have that, you're not going to do very well. I'm going to say something now that's going to be kind of controversial. Simple brake job on a Sprinter van. We work on a lot of these Sprinter vans. We seem to be at the crossroads of America, and here we're just north of Salt Lake City in Centerville, Utah. And I'm telling you, nobody, the dealers tell me here, nobody even comes close to me working on Sprinter vans. And it must be because a lot of these people live in the vans, and they're rock climbers and campers and naturalists and everything, and we just seem to be in the right spot. So shout out there to all the people in Sprinter vans. But we're doing a brake job, and I want to tell I'm gonna hit y'all with something that might be controversial. I never, ever, never. I'm a machine shop, remember? I don't own a brake lathe. I don't have one. Could I turn a brake rotor on one of my mills? Sure. On my lathe? Sure. But I don't own a brake lathe, and there's a reason for it. It's nuts. You can't turn a brake rotor anymore. Manufacturers make a brake rotor with every one of them's got a minimum thickness stamped on the side of it. Let me show you. Here's a new rotor, and here's the edge of this old rotor. Now this is a solid rotor, this is not a vented rotor, and on a new rotor, they'll give you a minimum thickness. Now you can look up under the manufacturer specs and they'll give minimum thickness, they'll publish that, but this minimum thickness is 14 millimeter on this rotor. Basically 9/16 of an inch. Now, if I didn't have a set of rotors here and I want to turn this rotor, first off I'd have to clean all that crud and scale off the side of that rotor and find out what that minimum thickness is, or look it up. And then I'd turn that rotor down, this wavy part, and there's a big thick edge on the, really bad here on the back side. So I'd have to clean all that up. So here's why I won't turn a rotor. Manufacturers, I don't care if it's a radiator, I don't care if it's a brake rotor, there's no manufacturer putting a lot of extra meat, I'm talking about metal, on rotors so that you got extra meat to like turn the rotor once or twice. They don't do it. You know, by the time you turn that rotor and clean that up, you're below minimum thickness, or you're right at it. So what happens when you get close to minimum thickness on a rotor, especially on a heavy vehicle like this or a truck? You're coming down mountains. We live out here in Utah. Everybody's seen pictures of my shop around here. The mountains everywhere around here. People are loaded up. They're coming down a mountain. They hit the brakes. So you got heat cycles. The brakes are getting hot. They're cooling down. Getting hot, cooling down. What happens over time is that warps. This surface doesn't stay true, so it starts to do this. So when you hit the brakes, everybody knows it. You hit the brakes, and all of a sudden the steering wheel's going like walla 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 walla, and that's in the front if it's doing that. And if you feel it in your foot, and the pedal's pumping like that, it's usually in the rear brakes. But it's called a brake vibration, and you'll get that. You might not get it. You might collect the money. Or you might do your own job if you're a do-it-yourselfer. You might collect the money or do the job, And you might get, 3 months out of it, 6 months or something. But the day's coming, because that rotor is so thin that it's going to prematurely warp. That's not the only reason that I don't turn a brake rotor. But here's another thing I want to say. Don't you ever do a brake job just slapping pads. Don't ever just do a brake job just throwing pads on it. And I'm going to show you why. Here's the old rotor, and here's the new rotor. Set them up like this. Here's the old pad that's been up against that rotor, and here's the new pad. Now, if I took that new pad and put it up against that rotor, why wouldn't you want to do that? Remember, condition, cause, correction, confirm. Why would I not feel good about that? We're going to draw the edge of this rotor on the new one. Here's the edge of that rotor, okay? Under a microscope, it's probably going to look a little like this because the metal is not perfectly smooth, okay? It's going to look like that. It's going to have peaks and valleys in these cuts on the rotor. Under a microscope, that's what it'll look like. Now look at this one. The edge of that rotor is going to look like this. It's going to look like that, okay? That's what that surface looks like. Now remember, I'm not turning that old rotor, and I've told you why. Ain't going to do it. So now I've got the old rotor and a brand new pad. So here's the edge of the pad. This is the edge of the pad. This is the edge right here, just like that. That's the edge. If I put a new pad up against an old rotor surface like that, pay attention, how much surface contact do I have when that pad engages that rotor? Okay, I'm gonna hit that peak, I'm gonna hit that peak, I'm gonna hit that peak. But you know what? I'm gonna have like maybe 10% contact on that rotor, maybe 20%, and then what's it gonna do? It's gonna start wearing those peaks, it's gonna start making that groove in this pad. And eventually it'll match that pad. But what that does is that makes that pad shift in that. Because as it's doing this, it's trying to cut this pad, because remember, the metal's harder than the pad. Something's got to give in a brake. That's how a brake works. Something's got to give, and it's supposed to be the pad. Eventually you're going to wear that old pattern. You're going to wear that old pattern into this pad. Well, while you're doing that, that pad is doing this. And that causes brake squeak. It's the back of the metal moving in the metal. That's why your brakes are squeaking most of the time. So the best way to do a brake job is to get a new surface, a smooth surface, up against a smooth pad surface. And now, how much contact do you have? So a new pad, a new rotor, you're going to get 90% to 100% surface contact. Your brakes will work right, So when you do a brake job, replace the rotors, put new pads on it, a good quality pad, not a cheap pad. Get new clips and hardware, and if you'll look here, I've already assembled this one here, but if you'll look here, we put some brake grease inside this hardware. This is where the edge of the pad will slide in and out of the caliper, and we'll also remove these pins in here and put grease inside here. And I just use brake and caliper grease. And if you'll notice, some people have this thing, a lot is better. No, usually with grease, and a lot is not better, especially, gaskets. That's another video. A little bit of silicone is good. A lot of silicone, not good. Same with your brake grease and things like that. You do your brake job, you clean everything up and get it greased right. And then, this is real important, you want to flush your hydraulic fluid, okay, the brake fluid. People don't do that enough. I'm amazed, at how many people don't stay on top of their brake fluid. Brake fluid is hydrophilic. It means it loves moisture. Brake fluid absorbs moisture. And it does that over time, and it's pretty good at it. And what happens when you absorb moisture into brake fluid? Okay, brake fluid has a boiling point. I'm going to blow this, but everybody out there, you tell me what it is. But it's over 400 degrees for a .4 brake fluid. I don't run .3 brake fluid. .4 brake fluid has 400 degrees plus boiling point. This moment you introduce moisture into a hydraulic system like that, first off, what is the boiling point of water? I know that. It's 212 degrees at sea level. So anytime you introduce moisture into brake fluid, you now have something that's going to boil. So the moisture, then once it hits 213 degrees, turns to what? It turns to a gas. And when you turn brake fluid, when all of a sudden you introduce air or that gas, the steam from the water because of the heat in the brake fluid, that's when you get a squishy pedal. And you only get a squishy pedal like that when you're needing extreme braking, when they're really getting hot and things like that, when you don't want a squishy pedal. So flush your brake fluid. You'll keep the corrosion on the inside of your ABS control unit, your wheel cylinders, your calipers, you'll keep that away. Never let your brake fluid, I don't care what you're driving, what you're doing, just do it by time. Every 2 years, flush your brake fluid when you do a brake job, or every 2 years. That's about it for brakes, man. Let me know if I missed something. Thanks.